welcome back. Your dreams were your ticket out. Welcome back to that same old place that you laughed about. Well, the names have all changed since you hung around, but those dreams have remained and they've turned around. Who'd have thought they'd lead ya? Who'd have thought they'd lead ya? Back here where we need ya. Back here where we need ya. Yeah, the tease him a lot, 'cause we got him on the spot. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back.
Welcome back. All right, so I'm going to be distracted because I've got the thing printed like I mentioned before, so I flipped it over. Thing is, I am not sure. I'm hoping it didn't flip the whole thing over to where the solid base that I had at the bottom. But I don't think so, because I know I selected that layer, that model to flip. But then when I was going through like the path of the tool head or whatever, it didn't seem like it drew out the first one. But I'm thinking maybe because it doesn't take that much to draw out the first layer, that it didn't like actually have to go show it. It was showing more of the actual model that I'm looking to print. So I have there's like a camera in there, so you can watch it from wherever. And so I'm kind of like keeping an eye on it to make sure. I think we'll see. All right. Cool. Got that going. All right. And then also I needed a stronger drill, be able to or screwdriver or whatever, power drill, power saw, whatever, to be able to screw in the stuff into there. Because the other one I have is not strong at all. So got that going. Some post radio show promo stuff. So hopefully you're making some progress on whatever that you're working on. All right, got a lot of plates up in the air right now. So I wanted to go and take a look at this article. They're looking for like feedback and stuff. So I figured take a look at it. Seems pretty cool. It's a proposal for some CSS goodness. And so I'm adding a link to it. So it'll be next to the recording of this video over at untilit.works. So you can check it out for yourself. Cool. Save it. Cool. Now, what I'm talking about here is from a blog post from Microsoft, actually. And so the title is Minding the Gaps, a new way. Oh, wait, let me make it bigger. Give me a second. I forgot it's on this new monitor thing here, which is, go back one. Cool. All right. So yeah, so minding the gaps, a new way to draw separators in CSS. So now drawing separator lines between various sections of a web page is a common design technique, especially like in print. So a lot of times when you see print, so I think what they're talking about is like you have like blocks of text and they may not be together. So let's say you have like the title of the newspaper or whatever, right? And then you have like little sections at the top, maybe talking about, like weather and top news and some other random things. So they're not really together, and they have like lines or whatever to kind of separate them, because they're still like code blocks, but kind of like help with the separation. You put like lines in between them. So that's what I'm thinking they're talking about here. Cool. Which can help structure the content and make it more readable, as well as more aesthetically pleasing. Nice. So now, as we'll see in this article, there are techniques you can use today to draw separator lines with CSS, but they also come with limitations. So in this article, we're introducing CSS gap decorations. Interesting. A new proposal, and they have like links to where, the GitHub here, which we would love your feedback on. This also goes to the GitHub. All right, cool. If this is of interest to you, read this article and help us shape the future of CSS by providing your feedback. That's pretty dope. So yeah, so okay, just like I was saying before. So there's these vertical lines. That's what we're talking about. All right. So existing workarounds and limitations. So what I've done in the past was to use a CSS border. So I would say like, hey, probably like depending on if it's the nth child or whatever, depending what it is, but saying like, hey, so you have this here, then say, hey, border right, make it this thing, but all the other borders make it like 0, right? But then you have the issue here, so then you can say like last of or whatever, don't have that border there, something like that. So yeah, However, it also comes with limitations, and with today's CSS layout techniques such as CSS grid and flexbox, using borders can often be in the way of simpler code. Imagine a flexbox container with multiple items laid out horizontally. All right. One way to display a vertical separator between the items is to add a border to the right or left. Okay, yeah. So yeah, of each item. So basically what I was saying before. Some of the drawbacks with the solution are adding a border changes the size of the items, true, which might not be desirable, so it kind of like moves it over. Yep, here he goes. Exactly what I was just saying. Yeah, this is as if I like read this before or something. This technique requires you to write special code for the first or last item to avoid drawing an extra border before or after that item. Exactly. Because if you were to do like, all right, I want border right of these things to be this blue color. But then the thing is, that means it would have it here also. So that's why you have to do that nth selector thing. Where what is it like last of? But then if you have like multiple, you know what I'm saying? Like if it's like resizing, then how do you do that? Because what if this moves to like 2 columns, right? Because of the size of the viewport. Then what happens? So what happens to this thing? You know what I'm saying? So yeah. So borders are tied to items, not to the layout the items are in. Oh, crap. Okay. So imagine a flexbox layout with multiple wrapping lines. With a border, you wouldn't be able to display a separator line that spans the entire horizontal space between the multiple wrapping flex lines. That's true. So if this was to go over here, then there would be like a space in between the lines. Okay. So yeah, because you wouldn't be able to go all the way through. Oh, I've never seen that. Okay, so another way to display separators is to use before or after pseudo elements. Each flex item would position a pseudo element either before or after itself, such that it sits between the items. See, I've never done that before. One advantage here is that the pseudo elements support all the styling properties that normal elements do, allowing you to be creative with your separator lines. However, this is still a workaround, which also comes with drawbacks. Special code is needed for the first or last item as before, yeah. Some complex absolute positioning code is needed to position the separator line, which requires you to know the size of the gaps between the items. Okay. Now, to make things more complicated, imagine another example where a CSS grid container defines a few rows and columns, and where some grid items occupy one cell while others span multiple cells. So like this one, multiple cells, and this also, and this one's multiple rows. So these are columns. Yeah, interesting. Okay, I can see how could this be an issue. So using CSS borders or pseudo elements to add separators between items of the grid can quickly get complicated. Yeah, I wouldn't even. I'm like, nope. I'll just nope my way out of that. This is especially. My bad. Again. Oh, it doesn't look like it's doing it. Crap. Okay, I'm gonna have to fix that. Or is it? It might be. I don't know what it's doing. Okay, using CSS borders. So I'm hold on. Let me just. Yeah, no, this is not doing what I wanted to do. I'm going to stop it. Oh, it's going to be a pain to take off. Stop. Kind of amazing. I can just stop it right there. Isn't that amazing? Okay, cool. All right. And I got a notification that I stopped it. All right. Cool. Again, distracted. Sorry. Okay, so yeah, so this is especially true if the grid is responsive and the items don't always occupy the same position or span of the same number of elements. Okay. One workaround you can use in this case is to artificially draw separators by letting the grid container's background color show through a grid gap and making the grid items match the background color of the page. Okay. I wish this this code would actually, you could see what it looked like. Okay. But yeah, so we have this the body, the site, the background is white. Then you have a container on that site. Display is grid, and you're repeating 4 by 3, and they're one frame. What is that called? Is one fractional row or something like that. I don't remember what that stands for, but it takes up the whole space. So it's like 4 equal parts and 3 equal parts. So So yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. So yeah, so that is basically this here, it looks like. All right. And then the back, okay, and then the gap between them is 2 pixels. But the background of the container is black. Okay, so the item, each item, so what happens is, so pretend these lines are black, right? So the grid itself has a black container, is a black background, but each item inside of it have a white background, and then there's a gap of 2 pixels. So then that will then give you the spacing. But it will be like, it wouldn't look like this though. I think it would be like all around it. So there'd be like a black line all the way around. I think that's how that would look. So yeah, this creates the illusion of separator lines between the grid cells. This technique addresses the issues that the previous methods face because the gap CSS property handles the complicated logic of knowing where this space between the items is located. Oh yeah, so I don't think gap is on the edge. It's only the in between, I believe. I haven't done much like messing around with CSS grid, especially with like this type of thing. So yeah, so it might actually, but then I'm pretty sure these lines would connect because these are gaps in between. So yeah, so I'm pretty sure it wouldn't look exactly like this. The lines would connect, I think. Cool. Yeah. So where was I? This connect, yeah, hands complement awareness. Okay. You no longer need to know where to place borders or pseudo elements. Okay. However, this is also just a workaround which falls short in some cases. Setting the length of the separator lines is impossible. The lines will always fill as much of the gap between the cells as they can, like I was saying. So yeah, so there wouldn't be a spacing. It would just be like connecting all the way through. Okay. If the grid contains one or more empty cells, the background of the color of the container will be visible in those cells, breaking the illusion of the separator lines. Oh, so if there was a space that was empty, then you would see like the background. All right, then you'd have to like put in, I guess, some sort of element, like empty element, and then have it fill up the space maybe to get around that. I don't know. Yeah, if the grid items don't stretch and fill their assigned cells, such as like place self center, then the background color of the grid will also be visible outside the gap areas. Okay. Finally, this technique doesn't work if your page background isn't a plain color. That makes sense. So one more way to draw lines between sections of content is in a layout is to use column rule. Oh, see, I've never seen this one property, which works in multi-column layouts. If your content can be laid out in columns and you only need separators between those columns, then using multi-column layout is a great option. See, I've never seen this. That's why I like to do this. It's pretty dope. I've never seen this before. However, however, this only work in multi-column layouts, which might not always be the right solution depending on what you're trying to achieve. For example, in a multi-column layout, you can't control where content goes in the inline direction, only in the block direction. Okay. So now this is what they're proposing. So yeah, you can already use the columns rule CSS property. I'm going to look that up. I have not seen that. So we're looking to extend the property to apply to other layouts such as grid and flexbox. Okay. Introduce the row rule, that's going to be fun to say, to match the common rule, column rule. Expand the syntax of these properties to allow for grid gap decorations in different parts of a container. So then this is what they're looking to do, right? So here's an example demonstrating how the proposed row rule property in its new syntax allows for multiple decorations to be defined. All right, so we have the gap, we have the grid. So pretty much, so autofill is going to be like 30 pixels. So even 30 pixels to fill, and then going up and down, it's going to repeat it 6 times at 100 pixels. So it should be short. Yeah, here. Okay, I had it backwards. 30 this way, 100 this way. I think. It says repeat 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm not sure. And there's a gap in between. Okay, so all right, so row rule, 1 pixel solid. So here, so here's the row rule. All right. Now, row rule color, red, blue. So you can, okay, that's cool. So you'd be able to say, like, hey, red, blue, red, blue. And if I guess you had another color, it'd be like red, blue, green, red, blue, green. Okay. Yeah. I'll probably use to alternate the color of the row gap decorations as shown. Grid template. That is that, I thought that was column row, but maybe it's row column. I don't know. A similar syntax could be used to define a thicker line on the first and last row of a grid and a thinner one on other rows. Oh, okay. So we have 5 pixels solid black, and then you repeat with a thinner one here with a different color, like a gray, and then the bottom would be 3 pixels solid black. Okay. And then they're asking to do that. All right, that's pretty cool. So they're saying, I like this. I just kind of read this. Here we go. But we also welcome any feedback on the proposal. Suggestions for things we might be missing, scenarios that we might be overlooking, anecdotes of when you could have used this, or even just a general quote, this sounds cool message. I like that. So yeah, so if you think this is cool, go ahead and hit them up. You know what I'm saying? I'm interesting. So again, this is all just like a proposal. So it may be a while before this actually gets implemented, if ever. So yeah, now's the time to let them know what you think. And so now I'm gonna get y'all back to work because I need to go and figure out why this thing didn't print the way I wanted it to. So, all right, get y'all back to work. Stop screen share. All right, cool. So yeah, so let me know what you think. I think it's pretty cool. I think as far as layouts, it could really help with stuff. All right, get y'all back to work. When we come back, we'll take a look at an artist's website, maybe listen to some music, watch some videos, maybe you can become a fan. But yeah, till then, I'm gonna send you all off with this traveling music. Thanks for hanging out. I do not know why that didn't work. So they print out like small like pieces. And now I gotta go and scrape all that stuff off the bed now because I want like a nice flat thing, and it didn't do that. So I guess what I did see in the printing thing or whatever, it did do it. So I need to figure out why it's not putting that first layer down, which is weird because it should be there. I don't know. So yeah, thanks for hanging out. I'm gonna catch y'all around. I'm gonna send y'all off with this traveling music. This right here is Anthony Cruz, aka A Butter. The track's called Thank You. Thanks for hanging out. See you like 15 minutes after the hour. Till then, I wish you much productivity. All right, y'all be easy. Peace.
I wanna say thank you for holding on when a brother was down and out. Now I feel so strong, and I wanna say thank you for being there when a brother had nowhere to turn to. You were there, and I feel like hell. And everybody says hell. We spread love like hell. I wanna say thank you for holding on when a brother was down and out. Now I feel so strong, and I wanna say thank you for being there.